So, without further ado, I think we should get into the very first match of the day, Shadowcat taking on Goreson.
All right, Goreson versus Machamp. All right, so now we finally have the matchup that we could see right now, Chef. What are you anticipating looking at both these players? And after we kind of touched up on Shadowcat's playstyle, playing a lot more passively and more zoner-like, how is Goreson gonna get into Shadowcat's personal space?
Oh, that is a great question, and that is a question I think Goreson is the only one who's going to be able to answer that. This is going to be a difficult match. We already see starting off with a little bit of zoning, a little bit of fireball game, but actually could have punished that just by releasing the counterattack. Chose not to, but the first phase won by Goreson. Goreson infamously good in the field phase, and Machamp infamously a little bit slow getting in, but this positioning right now is not so bad, as Machamp has Shadowcat in the corner, gets the full conversion, and look how much damage you can do if you find even one single opening.
And that's the problem too, because the moment that Goreson gets into Shadowcat's personal space, that's going to be a big chunk of damage getting taken out from Shadowcat's health pool. And now utilizing this, going in and being able to find that window of opportunity, being able to shift the phase, is now going to set things up for Shadowcat to play extremely more passively. But the moment you have Goreson get into that space, it's going to be lights out for Shadowcat.
Yeah, and Goreson now, he's going to have to find his way in again. He does have the life lead, but if he plays too patient right here, he will probably eventually lose that life lead just due to chip damage. Oh, but actually, Shadowcat taking the opportunity to go in, and you can see that Goreson is a character that can do a ton of damage too.
Especially being able to swap over between playing defensively and aggressively. Oh, and he shuts down Goreson. He takes the first round. And I love the patient play that we had seen displayed right there from Shadowcat. He saw the timer. He saw there was 22 seconds left. He knew that he had the aggressive position right there as Goreson was stuck against the wall. He was able to shift that phase first. And now we're going on to round two with Shadowcat holding the lead.
Yeah, and for anybody who doesn't know, we are actually going to best of fives today throughout the entire bracket, so there is going to be a lot more time for these players to potentially make some adaptations. However, right now, Goreson still again on the back foot. You know, even when though Machamp does have a bit of a life deficit, you just always have to remember how much damage he can do once he gets in. You know, he can take half of his life, and as soon as he gets in, you're down to a quarter. But, of course, he has to find that opportunity. Easier said than done, like I said earlier. He's close here.
Oh, especially with the synergy burst that he has online, that's going to be the permanent bulk up and a lot of damage if he does manage to close in some of that space. But Shadowcat is playing this so well, but Goreson finally opens up an opportunity here for himself. That's going to force out the phase shift, and Shadowcat can't go anywhere. He knows that he's playing so aggressively that Goreson goes in for the grab.
Oh, and stuffs the burst attack with the 2x. That's going to be a life lead and an attack buff up for Shadowcat. He still has held on to that burst attack of his own, or I'm sorry, the burst activation. He could have used it defensively, didn't even need to, and he's going to take game number one. But I think that was a great example of how this matchup tends to go, where it will just look like it's 100% in Goreson's favor, 100% in Goreson's favor, but then as soon as Machamp gets in, assuming that he does, suddenly that life bar can just melt.
Yeah, I really like the way that we had seen Shadowcat play in that second round. Honestly, if he didn't keep Goreson so far away throughout half of that second match, Goreson would have been able to tack on enough of that damage to actually take himself to that third round. So, you know, making some adaptations along the way here, Chef. Shadowcat, though, opening things up strongly for himself and now being able to close in that gap and get the grab.
Yeah, so we've actually seen Shadowcat go to some more offensive options even when he has the space to just kind of back up and play it safe. He's making the correct reads, and he knows that if he just backs himself into the corner, that's when we get into those situations where suddenly he's losing half of his HP, and unfortunately he finds himself in that situation again. And here we go, the grab, and like I said, half of the HP gone. Now support is up, which is going to be a really big deal. Of course, it is Goreson who has the ability to cancel into supports. However, it didn't really come into play right there. Used it raw, didn't work out. Now this is a tough spot for Shadowcat.
Yeah, I saw the attempt right there, try to utilize a Farfetch and try to pull up the Fury Coach to at least keep Goreson off of them, but luckily Goreson is starting to make some of that adaptation to, you know, closing that gap around Shadowcat. It's a matter of, can he keep up that momentum right now? I mean, Shadowcat now has the Synergy Burst online and already opening up pretty strongly with Goreson already on the ropes.
Oh, barely missed the punish on that counterattack. Made a good attempt, but then unfortunately got hit himself. And so Shadowcat does have full burst. There's a good chance, I think, that we will see this round go burst to burst, unless it somehow swings in one player's favor pretty wildly. Support's about to be up for both players, too. The Mew giving that much-needed synergy, usually, and then potentially an attack or a crit buff. It is random. But he needs to find an opportunity. And here's going to be a full conversion. This is probably going to be the jump X again. Yep, that gives the best knockdown going into duel.
And that's what we've seen a lot, too, coming in from Shadowcat, using that Farfetch to be able to close in that gap and get in a follow-up. But the new attempt coming in and the burst, but he was stuck against the wall. Shadowcat now is going to be able to try to close this up, with Shadowcat still holding on to a burst themselves. And if he wants to wait it out here, he can actually wait for that second round to be able to utilize it.
Oh, and he will. That is gigantic. I mean, meter management and resource management in general in Pokken Tournament DX is so huge. And if you can go into the final round where you have full burst and the opponent has nothing, that is such a good situation and a toughest situation for the opponent. Now, Goreson did win the phase, giving him a good amount of synergy, and he does have the Mew who can give him a good amount of synergy. Oh, and definitely this will, I think, even it up and give them both burst. Oh, drops the combo, though. That's pretty big.
Oh, he's put up against the wall right now. He is pressured. He wants to get out of here. Unfortunately, he doesn't get the cross-up, but he still managed to get some hits in before Goreson answers right back. He does have that synergy burst that you were talking about, and with the Mew now giving in some of that support, Shadowcat's going to answer right back with a burst, and he caught him up in the air. That's going to be so much damage right now, Underchef.
It is. There's an attack up buff on Goreson, too. You can see he's almost down, just one hit away. And Goreson is going to tie up the set. So, hey, you know, I was saying this was going to be a tough matchup, but maybe Goreson's got it. My big question is, especially since we are seeing a 3 out of 5 set, will Shadowcat switch to Darkrai at some point, another character that's infamously good against Machamp, or will he commit to the Goreson? Either way, I think it's a good choice. Either way, I still think he does hold a little bit of an advantage. Oh, actually, big change here. We're seeing a support switch, which especially for Goreson is almost as important as a full character switch. We're going to go for the Emolga. He sees that Goreson is going for a lot of armored options, and Emolga with that armor-piercing property is going to stop it. Plus give a speed debuff, which, you know, if Machamp wasn't slow enough, here, make him even slower.
Try to double dip on that too, especially, you know, being able to use the Emolga to temporarily actually shock Goreson, and not only that, decrease the speed. It's going to be able to go in for the follow-up like we had seen from the Farfetch pick from Shadowcat, and now you can already see the way that Shadowcat is playing this a lot more passively than what we had already witnessed before, making sure that Goreson can't build up some of that momentum that he was able to build up after taking in that second game.
Oh, and a beautiful combo right there. Interesting way to end it. Gets the Sunny Day, but yeah, the Flame Charge cancels that we see out of Goreson, one of the hardest things to do in the game. Okay, interesting. Throws out the burst. I think this is blocked. Yeah, that it's definitely a block, but just gets a little bit of chip, gets a little bit of space from that, and the Flamethrower, one of the highest damage single special moves in the game. That's a lot of damage as an anti-air.
Yeah, and calling him out on the jump approach too right there. After he wanted to utilize the Mew, try to push in, and not only that, but to try to increase his own synergy gauge, at least to try to build up some of that burst as well. You can see Goreson reaching closely around it. Shadowcat a lot slower on the build-up for the burst, but he is able to retaliate right back. Goreson playing a lot more passively, though. I like some of these adjustments that we're seeing from Goreson this second round.
Okay, I have to point out, this is super weird. It's something I literally don't think I've ever seen out of Shadowcat. We see the Fennekin as the support almost 100% of the time that we see the support set being chosen. It's just the Emolga. He's in a tough spot right now, but this is... Oh, no, this might actually be punished. Does he have the timing?
Oh,
he does! He does! Oh, that is so tough to time. Just to explain that for people out there, as this round is over... Oh,
he literally got sneezed on.
Yeah. I mean, that is super tough to do. So, Fennekin is actually invincible almost the entire time that you use it. You have just a very, very small amount of time to be able to use that burst attack to not too early and not too late to actually get that punish. So Goreson, super ready for that. And that's one of the big reasons why we very rarely actually see that support come out. I'm surprised that we saw it from Shadowcat, and it definitely didn't work out, so I want to see if we're going to see it again in the future.
Yeah, and, immediately swapping right back, having the Amoga at the ready, and now trying to apply some of that pressure here. Goreson answering right back, and, we've seen already as Goreson tries to rack up some of that burst meter coming right back. Shadowcat already has his online, as well as the Amoga to utilize as he does so right now. He's going to be able to decrease Goreson's speed, but now also gets the grab. He knows he has him on the ropes. He knows he has him cornered right here, and it could be a crucial damage from Shadowcat if he manages to keep Goreson on the defensive. He constantly is shielding too, so he can come up in with a grab if he can.
Oh, that is a lot of damage, and then goes in just for the meaty 5x, and that's all he needs. Yeah, I mean, honestly, it seems like when Shadowcat's taking the initiative, he's gotten a lot of damage out of it, and when he plays a little bit too defensively, that's when we end up seeing him in the corner, seeing him by the wall, and then it starts to get way more tough.
Now, making some of those adjustments, though, yeah, I'm really surprised we had actually seen Fennekin, like you had mentioned, too. I mean, unfortunately, the timing wasn't right there, but luckily, Goreson was actually able to take full advantage of that. And going into this game 3 right here, Shadowcat does have that lead 2-1.
Yeah, and we're seeing the Amolga being picked again, like you're saying. Yeah, I'm really curious to see if we do end up seeing the Fennekin. But still, of course, Goreson sticking with all the same stuff. I don't expect that we're going to see anything all that different. Wow, immediately goes with the Karate Chop. All right, not going to get a critical off that counterattack, so no full combo. But now they are point blank, and that is the scariest place. Nice backdash, actually. Uses the invincibility frames to go through the 6Y. And now this life lead is starting to run away for Shadowcat.
Something Shadowcat is doing constantly, too. Every time he shifts his base, he does take a back step over there, and now with the Mew, Goreson wants to try to rack up this damage rather quickly now, but this is a tough position if you're Goreson, because as Shadowcat, he wanted to go in, he gets that grab, but Shadowcat's already time before has used that flamethrower to stop Goreson's approach in the jump, and that's the positioning that Shadowcat is going to absolutely shine in, because Goreson just can't close in that space.
Yeah, now we're on match point for Shadowcat. Support pretty high for both players. I would assume that there's a good chance that we're going to see Goreson build it over the course of this round, and it might come down to a burst-to-burst situation, which is a pretty common thing to see, but that is going to be a lot of damage. If you can get hit by a full counterattack from Breakson, yeah, it tends to be a lot. Takes the grab, but doesn't get that much out of it. Still manages to get a little bit of an advantage here in duel.
At least he does have that burst meter at the ready too, but Shadowcat now has him trapped against the wall, the immediate retaliation. He has that debuff too for the speed, and now being able to tear right through, does utilize the Mew to get some of that extra damage going in, and that's going to be a lot of damage onto Shadowcat.
Yeah, made the right read. Goreson throughout this run, so far, even in the region finals, has been really good at reading the correct times to go for those burst attacks, but also just one more attack was able to close it out. Goreson not out of this yet, but Shadowcat choosing to save burst for this final round, which could set up some very tough deal situations. I wouldn't be surprised if we actually saw it, maybe even a little bit aggressively. But, now he's actually getting a little close to the corner, so we're just probably going to see it now. Yep, get away from me, build a little bit of space. Oh, this is a knockdown. This phase is going to be a lot of damage. Oh, he's actually playing it aggressively? Weird choice.
Oh yeah, being able to get that grab, shift over to the phase right now, and just wants to play this a little bit more keep away, especially since Goreson was able to tack on so much of that damage, but Goreson immediately switching it right back. He does close in some of that space though, thanks to Shadowcat, and now Shadowcat wants to drift back, does not want to try to close in this gap for Goreson at the same time, but you see that burst meter at the top from Goreson, and we've seen already, Goreson's comeback factor when he does manage to tack on some of that damage is going to be absolutely lethal if he could break through here.
Oh, and that is a big launch. Normally use that for the armor, but he just managed to hit it raw, which is pretty rare. And now Goreson with full synergy. We're definitely going to see that before this round is over. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw it right now. Yep, in fact, we are.
Yep.
The speed debuff just disappearing, and now he just needs to find one more solid hit after that knockdown, and I think that's going to be it. A burst attack again!
He found the perfect opportunity. Shadowcat, he pressed the button and Goreson was right there to punish him. And at the same time, he also had that Mew to power up his attacks, make sure he lands those crits. And now Goreson, he's back on the map, stopping Shadowcat short. And what a match already to kick things off here, Wonder Chef.
It is, and we are going to see the switch to the Darkrai in the very final game of the set. Winner of this will be advancing to the winner's bracket, but Darkrai, infamous for controlling this field phase so well against Machamp. In fact, we've seen entire rounds where you never leave the first field phase, which is, I mean, it sounds unbelievable, but we'll see if that's how this one plays out, because it's not all that rare. That's how good this matchup tends to be for Darkrai.
Yeah, it's interesting to see here Shadowcat making the swap over to the Darkrai, especially for this last game right here. And he's going to be playing a very similar, making sure to get that Trapper Zoner pushed out onto Goreson. Make sure Gorson's going to have a troublesome time, but it's also going to force Goreson to make some of those read adaptations. And it may be too late now that Gorson's taking in a lot of that damage, and Shadowcat is going to still keep running away with this momentum. He has nowhere to go, and he continuously keeps stuffing him out in the air.
Yeah, this is tough. So there's two lines of thought in this matchup as a Darkrai. When you're winning, either you keep him in field phase forever, or you immediately go to Bad Dreams Rising and you try to keep him in this dual phase forever. Clearly, Shadowcat's going for the Bad Dreams Rising option, and you can see this very well could end within this phase alone. He's got all the corner positioning. He has Magikarp, so he knows that the only thing that can hit him is a grab. Magikarp's going to be used. It's going to apply slow debuff, making it even tougher. Oh, look at that. Actually gets away from it. Oh, but that's going to be it. This should be a... Oh no, he's just going to go for normal hits, and he knows that's going to be enough. And yeah, you can see Darkrai. We saw this in the region finals. Darkrai's the best at keeping you in a phase. Whichever phase he wants, that whole game, 2 phases. And now again, Shadowcat on match point.
And it's tough too, because, you know, Goreson wants to utilize as much damage as he can tack on when he's in the duel phase, but meanwhile, you have Shadowcat here that's just making it super difficult for Goreson to be able to kind of utilize his plan here. Magikarp does stop those combos short, but luckily Goreson was playing a lot more slower now, and he's capped Shadowcat in the corner, and now pulling the trigger off of that burst meter. He's going to try to tack in some of that damage, but Shadowcat doesn't let him, and now he's trapped.
Oh yeah, this is where it starts to get really tough. Even when you have Burst, it's not really going to give you all that many options to get through all this Bad Dreams Rising. And yeah, he's going to get hit again. Burst is going to disappear before he gets really too much of a chance to do anything. That's going to be blocked. Okay, actually, it's going to get the hit. Doesn't go into full animation if you just hit the end. Does manage to shift out. So this is Gorson's only chance, is to win this field phase and then really try to win in the next duel phase, but that's not going to be an option. This is going to be really close to enough, and we are going to see the reset just to keep him in field phase. No reset into Bad Dreams Rising. Magikarp's still available. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw that, but there isn't even a chance. The traps are going to take it, and Shadowcat with the switch to Darkrai was the correct call as he advances in the winner's bracket. But overall, I have to say, this match was a lot closer than I expected it to be. Both of those